Okay, it is violation of zoning, and how what kind of impact it can impose on households. There are so many impacts, but we are going to limit to one such impact, even in that in a very micro manners. It is not very broad. How many of you are from mega cities like Delhi or Calcutta or Mumbai? Bangalore, Delhi. So, have you observed in this city or in your city, there are industries functioning in residential area? Have you noticed it? Okay, fine. Then what? Even today. So residences are more, or industries are more, or industries are more, residences are less?
As we move away from the city center, industries are more than residences.
There is one Penya industrial and also World Airport nearby, I think. Is it right? Yeah. Anybody from Chennai, Hyderabad? No. Huh? Away from the city. Is it right? From the city. Is it right? But campus is beautiful, no? Okay. So today's topic, cities and the zoning in India in the perspectives of households' well-being. This is what it is, and largely it is a violation of zoning and what kind of reduction in the well-being of the households in a particular manner. This is what it is going to be for another 2 hours, and after that, after the break, Professor Schaefer will take 1 hour on eminent domain, then open to the discussion. This is what it is. Okay. So, okay, I will brief you up in a sense. Why do we need to talk on this kind of issues? What is the need for it? Is it right? Suppose take an example in the case of economics point of view. The human activities, human beings particularly involving in economic transactions, they really wish to create wealth and accumulate wealth. This is basically the main desire of the human beings. Is it right? So, when you when you create wealth and when you accumulate wealth, you can make wealth and you can also take wealth. Okay. So, make wealth in the sense in a competitive manner, okay, compete each other in a legitimate manner. So, create the wealth and accumulate the wealth, but taking wealth in the sense, so in a backdoor manner, it is not a constructive competition, but it is a destructive competition, okay, using some kind of strategies. So, in this kind of thing, why do we need to talk about it is that, suppose take an example, cities in India. Is it right? If you name any city, they really need some money or revenue in order to fulfill the needs of the households of that particular city, given the territorial jurisdiction. Is that right? Then they have again the conflict between development and the environment. So, development like industrial growth. Okay. For industrial growth, the cities announces from time to time lot of subsidies. You come to my city, you invest, I will give you this, that, this, whatever it is. Is it right? So, the industrialists take that and they really maximize their profit even at the cost of society. But on paper, every the document of the discussion between the industrialist and the local self-government like urban local body, while writing it, it is completely for the well-being of the society. Because the industry coming forward to invest, that will create jobs, that will create income, that will create revenue, hence we are giving the subsidies. There is a rational and justification. On paper it is, but when it comes to reality, there is a difference between what the paper says and what the real happens. They will have a 100% justification why they are deviating from what they have really promised. Is it right? One such is that and at the same time, the cities also have the responsibility of keeping the environment intact. Okay, if that means maintain the environmental standards. One way it is economic growth and development by allowing the industries to establish their plants, and other way they have to keep the environmental quality up to certain mark. Is it right? But what happens here? There is a competition among the cities. Okay, there is a competition among the cities for establishment of industrial plants. Then this competition, okay, really put the environmental quality backseat. Okay, they even though there are minimum national environmental standards, they say they comply. Nobody will say, no, I am not going to comply it. Then there ends the matter. But they say, but they preach systematically. Okay, that is where the problem comes. That is where the problem comes. That is one point. And second point, if you talk about any city, there is a urban sprawl. Okay, urban sprawl. So this urban sprawl that the industry is established, the activity starts, and that requires labor force, and the labor force really, in order to commute in long distances, they really want to establish their residential thing in and around this thing, one way. And second, industries also would like to be inside the residential area because the infrastructure facilities are good, like electricity, water, road and the transportation, like near the railway station, near the airport, or near the marketplace. All these things them to be within the residential cuts of the city. Then that location is not well developed, particularly in terms. Hence, the industries try as much as, even by violation of zoning rules, to be inside the residential zone where they are, and then do whatever they want to do. This is second point. Okay. When suppose such type of situation prevails in any given city over the decades, okay, in any city over the decades, what happens? Is there any problem there? Bangalore, have you seen any problem when the industries, hazardous or heavy industries are functioning in the residential zones? Is there any newspaper complaints or news media discussions, or threat to the life, or something? Is there any such things happened in your observation?
I don't know of any specific examples, but I would think yes. Because share a space with an industry which is hazardous, nobody is happy about it. So definitely there is.
So is that land values in that area goes down, or like what you have said yesterday, they don't bother about it. They want the house, wherever it is, that's fine. Cheaper is the better. At that.
Would impact land value negatively.
Okay. Yeah. So, if they are functioning in residential areas over the time period and non-compliance of the minimum national environmental standards, we can per se, okay, that the environment of that location degrades. Either it could be air pollution, or it could be soil degradation, or in turn the degradation of groundwater resources. Is that right? Okay. So, this is the basic thing which motivates us to look into that issue. What really happening? Is it right? Why it is happening? What is the impact? Can you measure it? If you measure it, what is the at least a reasonable value you can disseminate this information to the public? These are the things which we are going to talk about. Okay. Then population growth is also really manifold. If we talk about the census starting from 1901, and every 10 years we do have the census, and if you look at any given city population growth, you can easily assess how much percentage growth every decade. Like some cities 50%, some cities 47%. Okay, so we can see that kind of growth. When then industries are really using the natural resources at free of cost, both for production as well as the releasing of the emissions and effluents, and it will have the impact on the natural resources scarcity. Okay. As such, there is a scarcity of natural resources, and over and above whatever natural resources we do have, if still we are going to spoil it, then the cost is going to be more. Someone has to pay it. Okay. Given our 16 member group here, if somebody smokes, then rest of the 15 people really suffers, and that person enjoy. Is it right? But over the time period, we don't know. This 15 people can do something, and other person also can. So this is what exactly going on in the society. Okay. So we will try our level best to make some kind of meaning out of today's presentation. That's what it. Okay. So if not, please let. Yeah. So we first talk about what is the problem, and what kind of objectives we can set reasonably, and how we can have some economic or scientific or economic. So which one is before or after, don't bother about that. Then we can have some brief discussion and conclusion. So this is what today's thing for another, whatever the time which we do have. Okay. So when we talk about the problem, so we have urban land use change, okay, urban land use change or conversion. There are master plans. Each city formulates master plans, and inside the master plans they do have the zoning policy. Master plans is a very broad one, but within that they do have the zoning policy. Okay, and this zoning policy, particularly we are going to restrict our discussion between the residential zones and industrial zones, not anything else. Okay, only residential and industrial. Then if we can observe, we can by look at the master plans of a given city. Okay, so we can identify whether there are any kind of violations of zoning policy, even by simply looking at the maps of the master plans, where usually the residential areas colored in yellow and the industrial areas colored in pink in general, or otherwise they give the color index, what is what. That is one way of indication. If suppose a given city developed 3-4 master plans from 1960 to 2010, is it right? and they every time they develop master plan, they do have the maps. If you compare the composition of the yellow color and the pink color, their combinations over the master plans, then with naked eye you can observe that whether there is any kind of violation. Okay, that is number one. Second, making the zoning, whether it is based on scientific or political reasons or random. Okay. So, if I say okay, this is residential, yes, this is, or that is industrial, that is, or is there any kind of, yeah.
Sir, I want to ask something. Maybe it's not related to this. Sir, like in Kanpur also, we have number of coaches and now growing number of hospitals and all, which is actually creating chaos in the residential area. That is also a violation. Having coaching centers and having big hospitals where doctors are parking their car like anything, that as if the property belongs to them. So that is a part of this violation.
This kind of question, I will be happy if you could have brought it yesterday. And today we are a little bit more intensive problem. So that is what it is. But anyhow, we will talk about this during the discussion. Okay. Yeah, it creates some nuisance, but at the same time, we will talk about it. Okay. So that is one map. Second one is you can also have the Google search. You can easily see the industrial presence in given housing thing. Third one, if you are a researcher, you can go and then observe it randomly. Okay, you just go to Penya in Bangalore, and you can see it, and you can go to Patancheru in Hyderabad, you can easily see it, or Balanagar in Hyderabad, you can see it. If you can go to Chennai, and there is a area of Pamal, okay, where there is a lot of tanneries and leather industries there. You can easily see it. Okay. So, like that, name any city, any town in our country with master plans, without master plans, except Delhi, after intervention of Supreme Court, the situations are more or less, violations are there. Okay. Reasonably, we can say that, but firmly we can say after do the research. Okay. This is what the thing is. So, if there are violations, then what kind of impacts? One is the impact to the human beings, even the impacts to the natural resources. But we are not talking about, we are not estimating how much we have lost natural resources manner, but even we are simply talking about the contamination of certain chemicals or whatever it is, and when it reaches to the human beings, then it will have some impact. That is what our discussion is going to. Okay, and what it could be the economic costs. Then these impacts can be divided into two. One is opportunity cost of groundwater contamination. This is basically groundwater contamination, that is concentration of heavy metals in the groundwater. Okay, concentration of heavy metals. Heavy metals again we are going to limit to cadmium, chromium, nickel and lead. Okay. Then we look at opportunity cost of groundwater contamination. Opportunity cost is nothing but of the best alternative use of a resource forgone. Okay. The best alternative ways, best alternative use of a resource forgone. That one such example is that, so at this time on this date you are here, okay, is it right? And at this time that's it. You can't go to Kanpur and have a nice movie. Is it right? Yeah. Yes or no? Okay. So, that is you being here, you can't enjoy your life there. Similarly, if there is a contamination in a groundwater of residential zone because of the industrial pollution, okay, then certain costs could be imposed on the households. Then such as one, we are talking about purchasing of drinking water from informal water market. Okay, purchasing of drinking water from informal water market. What it means, if suppose like any given city, they do supply the fresh water to the households. Is it right? So, you are who is from Delhi? Yeah. So, how many hours per day you get water from Delhi Jal Board? Per day 1 hour.
My place,
Yeah,
it's better in other places.
per day 1 hour. It is better
In other places, it's better.
comparatively.
Yeah.
Is that water come to you directly to your kitchen, or you have to pump it and then store it and then?
No, it comes. So in 1 hour in the day, it comes, the fresh water comes,
Okay.
and rest of the day we use the store water.
Okay. So, in order to use the stored water, you spend some time, some investment on it.
Yes.
Is it right? And is that enough? That 1 hour water, whatever it supplies, is that is enough for the whole household?
Yes.
Okay. Even for drinking water.
Yes.
Okay. So, you are not buying anything in the market. Okay. Then you are lucky. Okay. So, what precisely is that even in a given city, some locations, if the water supply supplied by the water board is not enough or sufficient to the household, and at the same time they can't consume the groundwater resources because it is contaminated, if they have the information that it is contaminated, but they can also see color changing or smell or whatever it is. Okay, even the government won't disclose the information. Then what they have to do, they need to go to the informal water market, buy water for drinking purpose, like per can at maybe 25 liters can at 20 liters can at 25 rupees, 25 liters can at 30 rupees. Is it right? That then that is one kind of economic cost you can calculate. The other kind of cost you can calculate is that mortality and morbidity. Is it right? Sometimes death occurs, but we are poor in the data. It is difficult to get such data, but particularly like morbidity, like health costs. So, you can able to get through primary data source. Okay. So, then yeah, you can have we can also do the productivity loss and income loss because of the health damage. Is it right? And again, calculating productivity loss, again it is complex, but income loss you can do it. Is that right? So, this is basically what it is. Okay. So, as we have stated here, if we won't prevent this economic ecological losses, okay, then there is a possible okay, if we won't mitigate the pollution, then if we won't do it, then there is a possibility of collapsing of economic, ecological and civilization at the end. Okay. So, we want to give some incentives to the economic agents not to do this. If they do, then it is gone. Okay. So, either you can talk about sustainable development cities or the present government context, smart cities. Yeah, is clear? Then reasonably, what there are several ways of doing it. You can set based on this problem several objectives. but we have a set of objectives. One is looking at these violations in scientific, economic and policy framework. Then you look at the groundwater contamination in the zoning violated areas and calculate the opportunity cost to the households, and then to try to maybe have a discussion and conclusion on if the present existing institutional mechanisms have some lacuna, what kind of suggestions you can give for this smart cities. This is what it is. Okay. This yesterday we have talked about it. Yeah, we don't need to repeat again. Then when we talk about the heavy metals like cadmium, chromium, nickel, lead, so what kind of disorders or diseases it can occur, okay, when groundwater is contaminated with heavy metals, particularly health risk. Okay. So it is a very well established kind of information. Yeah. Can I go to next slide? Then when we talk about how we collected the information, okay, we have really visited the urban development agencies, cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad. So 3 are already mega cities like 10 million plus population, and 3 are potential mega cities. I think hopefully by 2020 they also be joining the mega cities list. Okay, if not 2020, maybe 2030. Is it right? Okay. And we also really sometimes we also went to Central Groundwater Board to collect whether they have any kind of test results of the groundwater things. Okay, they have the mandate. This Central Groundwater Board has a mandate in each and every given city. They have to voluntarily identify some wells or bore wells, extract the water from that, and then go for the laboratory testing, and they should supposed to inform the public. But when we talk about testing of heavy metals, it is a costly affair. How frequent they are testing, even after testing, whatever the report they do prepare, where these reports going, whose consumption? Have you observed any such information dissemination by the Central Groundwater Board to the citizens of cities that this particular location is this much of cadmium levels or this much of lead, or have you come across such things? But they may have mostly CODs, BODs, they talk about it. Is it right? But not certainly on heavy metals, but they do tests on heavy metals. Okay. Then this is metro water supply and sanitation boards, okay, and this is pollution control boards. So this is some kind of secondary data we collected from this, and it is not easy to collect the data from these institutions. Minimum you should have a 3-4 visits. Okay, they should first trust you. Okay, then they slowly give piece by piece information. Okay, unless until you know someone, maybe your relative of IAS officer or relative of minister or whatever, then it is easy. The data will come to your home. Okay. So, but when we talk about the primary data, so this is just as a sample we have given it here. What we did, first we looked at the Supreme Court of India a case, a Delhi industrial pollution case. When we gone through the case file, complete the case file in the records, is it right? First we concentrated on, in Delhi. In Delhi, whether the Delhi I will come to it when we talk about Delhi. Just what we did first, we really identified whether there are zoning violation areas in a given city or not. If we have a reasonable understanding that yes, then we have collected the groundwater samples and then tested it in the environmental engineering lab to find out the whether the samples or the groundwater samples, they were met with the drinking water standards prescribed by World Health Organization. Okay. If not, then we looked at it, what is the water supply system in a given city, whether the water boards are supplying 24/7 water or sufficient water to the households or not. If not, then we will prepare a structured questionnaire. Randomly we picked up the households and go and interact with them, whether they are purchasing water from the informal water market or whether they have the RO system installed, or they are storing the water board supplied water, okay, or they are drinking the groundwater by having traditional methods, by boiling or whatever the things and still drink it. So we have collected all this information kind of thing. If they use groundwater, what purposes they use, even though they won't use it for drinking purpose, they use it for the bathing and washing clothes and washing dishes. Okay. When you do that, then there is a direct contact with the contaminated water, so it can cause the skin disease. If you are using according to US Environmental Protection Agency Manual 2002, if an adult continuously be intact with such type of water with this kind of purposes for 30 years, then there is a high probability that they get the skin disease. But when we talk about the kids, it is for 6 years. This is what the manual it prescribes. Okay. So yeah, we have so far for our study purposes almost all, in the case of Delhi, 10 samples, Calcutta 10 samples, Mumbai 10 samples, Hyderabad 10 samples, like all the 6 cities 10. We have collected 20 samples, but tested only 10 samples because we also don't have much money. Okay, there is a resource constraint. That was a step we started. Is it right? Then what happens? Those samples testing gave us the information that Chennai is the worst. And then we looked at the Chennai. Within Chennai, we went for we collected the samples from 15 selected locations, 45 samples in pre-monsoon, 45 samples post-monsoon, collected the samples and tested in the lab. And that again gave us the Pummel is the worst. So when we had this kind of scientific collection of samples and scientific tests based on the information that which areas are vulnerable, then we went for the households. We almost all in Chennai itself, we had almost all around 1,000 households. We have collected the data. Okay. But in the case of Bangalore and Hyderabad, a little less. So, this is how we really did the study. Okay. Then when we talk about health risk assessment due to groundwater pollution, it can be inhalation, contact, or this is skin thing, okay, thermal path. But in Chennai case, this is drinking, okay. This is drinking, this is inhalation, this is skin the contact water, okay. Then in the case of this is more relevant, like washing clothes, utensils and shower, okay. Yeah. Then we also try to reasonably look at, in a way, in the case of pummel, disability adjusted life year, okay, premature and disability thing. This is life loss and loss of disability year, okay. So, this is how we really use the DALI, but again only we haven't get the number of deaths, okay. Only we had this disability thing. We use this disability weight, that is a global burden disease, 1990. They gave the weighted index for the skin disease 0.056, the weightage, okay. And then we looked at the whatever the household data which we collected, how many households they were residing in those areas where the contaminated water is there, 30 plus years for adults, okay, and 6 plus years for kids. Then we calculated that, okay. Yeah. Now your city, our capital, national capital, okay. So when we talk about, this is what the core city, then it is expand. Now the national capital region, there was day before yesterday, there was an article, there was a news clipping from Economic Times, that is Sunday, okay. And what it really says, the city territorial jurisdiction, now it is around 54,000 square kilometers. So it has from Haryana 13 districts, and from UP maybe around 7 districts, and maybe some other state, 2-3 districts, okay. So I think this really, it is a handy for our lecture. If you have time, kindly have a look at it. It is exclusively on Delhi, okay. So starting from this Delhi Development Authority in 1957, 3 master plans, 1962, 2001, 2021, it established maybe around 2005, the master plan year, but it applies up to 2021. So when the Delhi initially established, in absence of master plans, the residential and industrial together. When the master plan developed, okay, then the master plan asked the industries, particularly hazardous and heavy industries, whichever industry is in residential part, either they need to close down or they need to shift to outskirts of the city, okay. Is it right? Then similar is true, that was in 1962. Similar is true in the case of 2001. If 2001 is this, then whichever industries are in the residential area in this, when the master plan started, then they will ask these industries to shift outskirts of this, okay, not within this area. Similarly that. So, every master plan after master plan, master plan after master plan, they say that okay, you move out, move out, move out, move out or close down. But these industries, they haven't done that, okay, till 2004, when the Supreme Court verdict came last against Delhi Industrial Pollution Codes. That too, maybe if my figure is correct, 750 hazardous and heavy industries only shifted out of 1 lakh plus industrial units. Is it right? So, that means there are zoning violations and PAL in the Supreme Court of India. Is it right? So, with this kind of thing, the whole city divided into 6 water blocks. Okay, the whole city divided into six water blocks, and then yeah, we will first we will see the violations or master plans part, then we will go to the scientific, then we will go to the economic part. Then this is the Bangalore. From 1952 to even 2003, okay. Even they also have around 2015, no, not 2015, 2020 or 2025, they have the master plan. Again, they are moving from core city to far away. Is it right? And similarly, Hyderabad, and similarly Chennai. Okay, from 1633 to 2006, and which this is valid for till 2020 or 21. Okay, this is proposed 2020. Then, if we talk about Chennai particularly, which it talks about this, okay, and as I mentioned, in 1973 first master plan, you see the yellow color and you see the pink color, yeah, you can observe it, no? And if you see the second master plan, which was developed in 2006 or 2008, but it is valid up to 2026. The master plan prepared up to this year, but it was prepared in 2008 kind of thing. There you see the yellow color and the pink color kind of thing. Can you make some guess? No guess? No, the mixing of yellow color and the pink color. Okay, if you look at this one, okay, what is the size of this, and then yellow color, and you see the same thing, okay. And if you look at this one and then look at this, this is a lake kind of thing. So, everywhere, wherever it is, either industries violates or residents violate, but violation occurs. Is it clear? Yeah. So, once we have, this is Pammal in Chennai, this is 1973 thing, and this is 2006, okay, and then this is 2026 it is going to be, okay. No, when they developed this in 2008, it was the situation. You can clearly see, no, from this to this, this to this, and what the things are. So, then every household seems to be a kind of industrial unit. Yeah. So, that means without looking at the scientific data, or without you go and then observe whether there is a violation or not, through this you can observe it. Is it right? So, that means these master plans indicate the residential industrial zones conflict and zoning violation prevails. Okay. This is just we are based on the maps, but whether it is true, if it is true, then industries contaminates groundwater and there should be how much the heavy metals are over and above the WTO drinking water standards. Is it right? Then this is what the PAL case yesterday I was talking about. Okay. You see, Supreme Court observed that every industry was being visited by 53 departmental inspections of the government, but still the industries managed to be inside the residential area, and then even after filing the case, I think this case was filed in 1985, I think. Okay, 1985 case was filed, and the final verdict like 2004 was the kind of thing. 20 years this industry is, this is what the statement which I shared it with you. Yeah. Particularly this case motivated us to do this study. It was almost all 10 years back we got the chance to see this case. Okay. Yeah, this is not required. This is, yeah. So in the case of the collection of samples in Chennai, we have collected 45 samples all over except this and tested it. 45 of such samples pre-monsoon, 45 such samples post-monsoon, and tested it in the environmental engineering lab. As I mentioned, this Central Groundwater Board and Central Pollution Control Board had this 1998 study published in 2000. This is the whole Delhi, and some of the wells and bore wells, the Central Groundwater Board has a mandate voluntarily they have to check from time to time for the contamination. Okay. This is tube wells, hand pump, dig wells. Okay. It's clear. Then this is what basically we have collected in 2007. So this study was 1998. Oh, sorry, extremely sorry. I'm sorry. This study was 1998. Okay, but we use the same procedure, same method as a imitating this study, and we did it in 2007 as an MTech thesis by an MTech student. Okay, so he collected the Alipur and City and Sadra. These are the three out of 6. 3 we have done. 20 samples we collected. Out of 20, 10 each, 10 or maybe some samples we have tested because of scarcity of M vitamin. Okay. Then this is after studying Delhi. Then we looked at the Chennai initially. Okay, Ambattur, Manali, Tiruvattiur, Krompet. Krompet is really very, that is Pummel area kind of thing. And then we have the Bangalore, like Yelahanka, Jalahalli, Penya, Haganahal, Dasarahal, this is Cunningham Road, Commonhall, Whitefield. Okay. And then this is Hyderabad, like Patancheru, Jirimetla, Balanagar. Yeah. And when we collected all the groundwater samples, 20 from each city, 10 we have only able to finance it, and this is the outcome of this thing. I will give you the precise thing what it is. Okay. These are the instruments which we have used, at least for the Chennai thing. Okay. And here are the at least for three cities, Bangalore, this is cities, Chennai, Hyderabad, okay. And this is the zoning policy violated areas which we have observed and identified within our whatever the definition. Then these are the locations, exact place, and this is cadmium, chromium, lead, nickel, but this is not pre-post samples test, but one time. Okay. In the case of Chennai, chromate, as per our previous study, 16 times higher than whatever the WHO standards it prescribed, over and above. Okay. And in the case of Hyderabad, Balanagar, particularly cadmium. And in the case of chromium, Bangalore, Yelahanka, this is 2 times over and above the prescribed thing. And when we talk about lead, Bangalore, Hagenhalli, and Chennai, chromate 17 times, and Hyderabad Jeedimetla as well as the Balanagar. It is over and above the WTO standards. Okay. Sorry, WHO, World Health Organization, WHO. Then it is nickel. Chennai, Patravakam, Ambattur 10 times, and earlier it is 15 times lead. This is nickel, 15 and 18. Then when we talk about water supply, particularly in the case of Bangalore, okay, this Maruti Seva Nagar, they are the luckiest people, they are getting 24/7 so far, whatever research which we had across the cities. And Mumbai is also good in water supply, they also really very, but the worst is Chennai. In Pammal, we got not this one, 2 times for 2 hours per week, and particularly in Pammal 1.27 hours on an average per week. Okay. So then when we talk about like take an example, this place, okay, this Chennai chromate kind of thing, yeah, we have done study for 3 cities, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, and you see the Chennai is after, I think Hyderabad is also equally, but Chennai having all the things, cadmium, lead, nickel, this also having it, but in this case the cadmium is higher levels than the Hyderabad, that is one point. Then when we look at the water supply system, Chennai is the worst one, water scarcity. They are getting water from Krishna river, neighboring state Andhra Pradesh, maybe around 450 kilometers, around 12 TMC water. And the historically in one point of a time, they get the water by train, like what the recently that Maharashtra, some city, the water supply, it is not new to our country. We had well experienced such things. From Vijayawada to Chennai, the water trains reached. Okay. Then when we look at the opportunity cost, the Chennai is the highest. Okay, it is US dollars 22.75 million per year. So this much money households not able to spend on their kids education, that is opportunity cost. Is it right? Because of the contamination of water, groundwater, because of the short supply of drinking water. Is it clear? So this really gave us, only concentrate on Chennai. What's out of these 3, what happens here? Then when we look at the Chennai, like 90 samples, 45 pre-monsoon, 45 post-monsoon. So if you look at the cadmium, chromium, lead, nickel, all are there in the pummel. Okay, all are there in the pummel, and the water supply is 1.27 hours per week. No, these are all facts. It is not I haven't sat in my office room and then had all these things. Okay. Then this is the water supply, surface water thing. They have this many reservoirs: Pundi, Cholavaram, Red Hills, Viranam, and Chambarambakam Lake. Okay, and they also have the groundwater. And they what these people are doing, the neighborhood farmers, the city administration have a contract with neighborhood farmers that you need to supply water for this price continuously. And they also have the desalinization of the seawater plants, two such plants. So, if you go and talk to the official of Chennai Metropolitan Development Authority, maybe at least one or two officials agree with you, or they themselves will reveal, they can solve all the problems of the households in Chennai except water. Okay. And this is cost per kiloliter to the Chennai Metro Water Supply and Sanitation Board. Okay. Supply water. Yes. Yeah, this is yeah. We also looked at it. There are 99 households. Initially, we have really surveyed for opportunity cost calculations. Out of 99, this Chennai, LH, lower income group, middle income group, higher income group, and Bangalore, and Hyderabad, somehow who went for the data collection, he hasn't specified this. This is a mixed one. And if you look at, yeah, it is again repetition. Yeah, this is how the opportunity cost of groundwater contamination for initially for 9 locations and collected, but that here we revised it. We have the figures with us.